You are listening to High Heels and High Chairs, voted the best online resource for busy moms who wish to stay strong, sexy, and centered in a world of spit up and sippy cups. Whether you're a new mom, a grandmom, a future mom, or somewhere in between, you'll love these priceless tips, tricks, and tools you will learn today. Here is your host, top female fat loss and hormone specialist, Dr. Michelle Sands.
Hi, and welcome back to High Heels and High Chairs, staying strong, sexy, and centered in a world of sit-up and sippy cups. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Sands, and today I'm very excited to have with me Dr. Tom Bayne. Dr. Tom is a chiropractic physician, and he specializes in nutritional therapy and is an international expert in digestive health and detoxification. The reason why I have Dr. Tom on the show today is because one of the products that he's formulated has just really done phenomenal for my patients and myself. This product is called Megaspore Biotic. It is a probiotic supplement that is just really very different than anything that I've used before, and the results that I've experienced has just been really just life-changing and in myself and my patients. So I just wanted to introduce Dr. Tom and tell us a little bit about yourself personally and why this field of digestive health and the microbiome has been so important to you.
Thank you, Dr. Sands. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me. I have been in the nutritional field for about 22 years. I worked for one of the largest manufacturers of food supplements in Belgium, in Europe, and we ran that company for a while and actually sold that company to Metagenics. So Metagenics Europe is the old company that I used to work for. So at a young age, I got into product development, research, and so that early part of my career in Europe kind of sparked my interest in the industry, and I've stayed involved with it. And I have continued practicing. I have a full-time practice in the northern suburbs of Chicago, and I've always had. My practice has always had a digestive focus to it because I've always come around to, where one, the number one reason people go to the doctor is because they have digestive issues. But two, secondary problems like skin conditions like eczema and psoriasis and acne frequently have digestive issues as the root of their problem. A lot of autoimmune conditions also have digestive issues at the root of their problem. So at an early point in my career, I realized if I was going to be effective, I better understand digestion and better be able to support people digestively.
Exactly. I found the same thing. I find my patients coming to me with irregular periods, is trouble losing weight, fatigue, all these things, autoimmune conditions, and when we really get down and look at them holistically, like you said, the majority of them have severe digestive issues, and so that is why I feel like the products and the research that you put out there, because you do a lot of education for doctors as well, and that information has really made a difference in my practice. And before I had the ideas and I had trying to find the right tools was probably the biggest obstacle for me. So, you put a lot of great stuff out there, and specifically Megaspore Biotic, which really I think made the difference in being able to really address these issues. So I wanted to first, for people who are listening who may not be so familiar with probiotics and the digestive health and what they do for it, can you just explain what are probiotics and why are they important?
Well, in order to understand what a probiotic is, it's really important to understand what the environment of our intestinal tract actually looks like. And so our digestive tract, our intestinal tract is brimming with bacteria. There's over 100 trillion bacteria in your digestive tract. And just to give some context to that, you only have 10 trillion cells that make up your entire body. So we're actually 10 times more bacteria than we are human. And so the idea of probiotics, it started in the early 1900s, and it was this idea that there were good bacteria that lived inside our bodies, and the thought process was we could put those bacteria back into our digestive tracts as a way of improving health. A good balance of healthy bacteria in your digestive tract is important for the assimilation of nutrients. It's very important for immune health. And really, it's the first response from your immune system to fight infections and keep your body healthy. So that what probiotics are designed to do is they're designed to actually restore balance to the bacteria in your digestive tract so that there's a balance of more of the good guys instead of the bad guys. And that's been the basic idea over the last 50 years in the supplement industry is, all right, we've identified what kind of bacteria live in the digestive tract. Let's add them back in orally in capsule form or in a liquid form, usually a refrigerated version that you find at the health food store. So that's pretty much what the market has been.
Right. So Mega Probiotics, the product that we're talking about that you formulated, that's not refrigerated. So can you explain for someone who's wondering, you just mentioned something that's pretty common knowledge, that the probiotics that's out at the store are needing refrigeration. So your product isn't refrigerated. So can you explain why that is and how that's possible and why it works?
Yeah, it's a great question, and you'll see that there's going to be a lot of logic in the explanation of this. But if you took all the science ever on probiotics and you put it in one room, 80% or more of that research is in the last 8 years. And so most of the products that are in the marketplace are based on very small amounts of science that were from the 1980s that weren't able to actually use human models because we weren't able to keep the bacteria alive to really understand what was going on and what kind of bacteria these were and what kind of concentrations they were. So it wasn't until the last 8 years when the National Institute of Health did a $200 million research study on bacteria in and on the human body that we really got an understanding of what these bugs are and what kind of actions they actually perform. So all that research, previous to that information coming out, the predominant story was you're unhealthy, you need to swallow some refrigerated lactobacillus and bifidobacteria strains, and these bugs are going to make their way through your stomach into your intestines, and then they're going to live, and they're going to make babies, and they're going to change the environment of your intestinal tract. And so this is the predominant belief in probiotic medicine. But
right, and that's actually what I learned in medical school. That's what we were taught in medical school as well. So.
Right. Yeah, and so I too was taught that when going through school, and even still, there are many postgraduate programs that still teach this idea of re-inoculating the bowel with good bacteria. Yet the research that came out of the National Institute of Health just blatantly says that that's not possible. First of all, these bacteria are not built to survive through the GI tract. And so let's think of this, Doc. If you have to have a probiotic refrigerated in order for it to be alive, then how does that same bacteria survive a pH of 1 and 98.6 degrees of temperature? And so the idea of refrigerated probiotics was a brilliant marketing idea. And the business person who created that probably made a lot of money for themselves and has done a very good job at educating the consumer, but it's not supported by science. The idea that this probiotic that's got to be refrigerated is going to even make it through your stomach acid, research shows that they don't. Now, these dead bacteria do perform benefits. So I don't dispute the research that's out there. There are research studies that show that, 15 people that took a lactobacillus bifido-based probiotic, that their symptoms of IBS improved. I'm not disputing that. But the bridge that they build then is, well, the reason it helped was because the bacteria went and lived in my digestive tract. That's just not true. These bacteria have been shown to change the pH. And when you have mild digestive issues, a change in pH can be beneficial. It can help with symptoms of bloating or symptoms of yeast overgrowth. But the minute you stop taking the probiotic, your symptoms come right back.
Right.
So the idea that we could reseed the gut, first of all, not supported by science in its ability to survive. Second main point is that the reason it was so hard to identify the bacteria that live in your digestive tract is because they are anaerobic organisms. They cannot live in an oxygen-rich environment. So the minute they come out of our body, boom, they're dead immediately. They hit oxygen, they're dead. And so the bacteria that are alive in the capsule or alive in the refrigerated bottle at Whole Foods, those organisms are anaerobic organisms. They're alive in an oxygen-rich environment. How does an aerobic organism live in a largely anaerobic environment? It can't.
Okay.
And lastly, you've got 100 trillion bacteria. If you think you're going to drop 50 billion or 100 billion of any kind of bacteria in there and make any kind of shift to that number, it's nowhere near. Your immune system won't even recognize it. It'll just kick it right out. So, and the other thing, too, is it's not supported evolutionary from an evolutionary basis. How did caveman get his probiotics if he didn't have a refrigerated section at Whole Foods? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So it didn't make sense to us. It didn't make sense, and it's not supported by science. So
how is Megaspore different? How do you get it to survive?
Well, so since science has proven that the reseeding theory of probiotics is not true, then what else is there? And so what you have is environmental organisms that our ancestors came in contact with daily because their food was covered in these microorganisms. And there are a category of environmental organisms that are all over our environment where we can gain natural exposure to them, but also perform probiotic benefits once they're inside our body. They're naturally born, or they're naturally created to where they can survive through the digestive tract. The reason they can survive is because when they're in an inhospitable environment, when they're like on your living room floor, they dehydrate themselves and form a really hard outer coat, protein outer coat called a spore. And the spore allows them to survive through the stomach acid. And then when they get into the small intestine, they have receptors that tell them, hey, we're in the intestines now. And now they come out of their spore form and they become a vegetative bacteria that then performs probiotic functions. Main functions being fighting off bad infections like candida and bacterial infections that aren't part of the normal flora of your bowel. So they have the ability to get rid of yeast infections and get rid of pathogenic bacterial infections. So the spores will actually recondition the bowel. They change the environment of the bowel so that it's conducive for the bacteria that you got from your mom to grow and thrive. So the bacteria, the 100 trillion bacteria that you have that make up your bowel, you got those bacteria from your mom. They're anaerobic organisms that you got in utero, and then as you pass through the birth canal, and then with breastfeeding. And by about 2 years of age, you've got an adult microbiome, and you have an immune system now that's going to protect it and make sure it stays the way it looks at about 2 years of age. So
that makes a lot of sense. So I just wanted to ask you, so being that you get your probiotics from your mom, I have a lot of moms listening and moms to be as well. So it's ultra important for moms to have optimal microbiome bacteria, correct? So they're going to be passing that on to their children?
So one of the strains in Megaspore is called Bacillus subtilis, and it is known for very potent immune modulating properties. there's actually research that shows that exposure to Bacillus subtilis in utero and early in life is imperative for the development of our Peyer's patches and our gall, basically the immune system of our digestive tract. And so the development of the human immune system is dependent on early exposure to one of these spores. And so that's an incredible concept when you think about it. And so, yes, these moms who are pregnant, these moms who are nursing, they need exposure to the bacillus spores now to improve their baby's immune function later in life. And so yes, it's hugely important. It's also hugely important for mom to keep her healthy because you know, everybody is usually, and I don't want to make any broad strokes of a pen about pregnancy, because even though I have 3 kids, I myself have never been pregnant, and I find it an amazing process, and I don't know that I'm necessarily wired to go through it, but most of the time what you see is the first pregnancy goes fine. You know, the first pregnancy, moms, it's just all about mom and baby. It's the second and the third pregnancies where fatigue is just so rampant, and the ability of mom to absorb nutrients from her diet, and the whole process of going through multiple pregnancies has just taken
while you're caring for your other children. Exactly.
Right.
It's exhausting.
Right. So a mom who may be pregnant now and for the third time, boy, we want her to have these benefits now through the pregnancy to help her, you know, get through it a little bit more comfortably, in addition to exposing her unborn child to these strains. But at the same time, it's also time to start exposing infants and children who have not had any exposure to these organisms. It's time to get them into their diet and getting some immune modulation for these kids to keep them strong. I mean, kids are going to get sick, but part of that process is that their immune system is learning. And spores are a great way to teach the immune system how to be stronger without them actually being sick.
So let's talk about the kids. So I've got several moms listening, or thousands of moms listening, that either had their children already and they didn't know about this information at the time, or your moms who've had C-sections and their babies might not have gotten the optimal bacteria at birth. So how early can children take a probiotic or make a spore-biotic? How early can we get that into them, or is there a different channel for them to absorb these spores?
So you know what's interesting, in the food supplement industry, your biggest obstacle is to prove safety with your product. Once you prove safety, then the next logical step is to go into research and understand things on a deeper level. And so we're doing that. We're doing that with a number of different types of conditions. As it is right now, when you're looking at infants and children, most of the stuff we're talking about is anecdotal because we haven't got to the research part of it yet. And so a lot of the data that we have comes from physicians who treat infants and pregnant moms, infants, and children. And so I myself in my practice have seen children who have come right into life with health challenges, eczema being one that we see quite frequently, where children are either born with eczema very quickly, born with it, or having it very quickly after birth, or developing a very difficult case of it very early in life. And so with those types of conditions where you're seeing actually a health issue in a 3-week-old or a 3-month-old, that's where we're gathering a lot of our data from. And so I don't have a double-blind, placebo-controlled study that shows this, but I've got countless physicians across the U.S. U.S., Canada, and the UK that have reported, improvements with digestive issues, improvements with skin and immune conditions, and using it in kids as young as 1 day old.
I have a testimony of that myself. Actually, those who know my story, my baby Paxton was born almost 2 months early because I was exposed unknowingly to mold where I was living, and so that caused him to come early. So he was 4.2 pounds at birth. You know, he had trouble breathing, and even into like the first month, he had digestive issues. And so I actually got him right on the Megaspore Biotic. I put it in his bottle with breast milk, and now he'll be a year next month. And he was a 4.2 pound baby, premature, and now he is at like the 70th percentile for height and weight, and he has never been sick. So he's thriving. And
That's
you know,
phenomenal.
we brought him back to the NICU last month to, you know, check in with the nurses who were caring for him during his first month of life, and they could not believe how big and sturdy he is and how healthy he is. And you know, I was taking the product while I was towards the end of my pregnancy and all through breastfeeding, and you know, I can't say that is the only thing that helped. I mean, I'm also a naturopathic doctor, so you know, we don't have any GMO foods in the house. You know, he's doing healthy practices. We have a very good vibe in the house where it's a positive environment. So there's a lot of things that contribute that I really believe that, you know, having this as a tool is what helps him to thrive. So, you know, I can't say, you know, it's based on a study either, but I can just base it on my own life.
Well, and you know what? That's a great story. You know, what we want to do with our children is we want them to develop a healthy immune system. And you know, and what do all babies do? You know, when you put a baby down on the floor, it's the first thing a baby does. It puts whatever's in its environment in its mouth. And so this is an evolutionary step, we believe, in exposing yourself, because you know, what did cave woman do? She put the baby down on the dirt floor. What cave baby do? Cave baby ate the dirt. You know, and what did the dirt expose? The dirt exposed the baby to its environment, and it boosted its immunity to its environment. And so that's what we're looking at doing. And spores are a way to expose your baby to a healthy environment, because your baby's own environment has been completely sanitized.
Right.
The food supply has been sanitized. Living environment has been sanitized. And so there's no opportunity for the immune system to be able to settle in and get used to its environment. And so as a result, then that's why we're seeing higher incidence of food allergies, higher incidence of environmental allergies. You know, we're seeing immune dysregulations. That can show itself in a number of different ways when the immune system's not working correctly. And so, but why is it not working correctly? It's not working correctly because of poor environmental exposure. We've got an unhealthy environment that we're exposing the kids to, which is creating an unhealthy environment in them.
Exactly. So I'm seeing autoimmunity as like one of the top things that are coming in through my office, and you know, that is right at the base of what you're talking about. So, you know, among other issues as well. So we're not just talking about digestion here. We're talking about immunity. We're talking about the ability for your body to absorb nutrition. And a lot of people have heard of probiotics being helpful with weight loss. So can you talk on that? Because I know there's a lot of moms listening who are interested in that topic as well.
So with the probiotic, you know, with the lactobacillus and bifidobased bacteria, where they're dead, you know, they're just passing through and changing the pH. When you're able to provide a bacillus spore, which is actually alive, then the probiotic benefits you get, besides the fighting of infection, which that by itself is huge, but they also produce nutrients in your digestive tract. And so the spores in Megaspore Biotic produce the full spectrum of B vitamins in their methylated form. So increasing B vitamins is huge for metabolism, huge for energy production, and keeping the body functioning at a higher level. So that by itself, we've got some improved energy and improved metabolism with the B vitamins. But they also produce coenzyme Q10, nattokinase vitamin K2. One of the spores, the Bacillus subtilis, has been shown to digest resistant starches in your bowel and make, as waste products, short-chain fatty acids. Now, short-chain fatty acids are hugely important for bowel health. It's basically the fuel of your colon cells, but your colon cells don't produce this nutrient. It has to be produced by the bacteria that live in your gut. And so our research shows that we've been able to increase short-chain fatty acids in the bowel by almost 40%, which is a huge shift in that chemistry. Now, if you're somebody with inflammatory bowel disease, that's hugely important because short-chain fatty acids basically put out the fire of inflammatory bowel disease. But if we're talking about weight loss, an increase in short-chain fatty acids, it's the trigger that shifts your body from burning sugar for energy instead of burning fat for energy. So when you increase your short-chain fatty acids, you're teaching your body, I don't want to use sugar for energy anymore. I'd rather use fat for energy. And so now you're stoking the fire with fat. Now when there's no fat in the system, where does your body go? It goes to your fat stores and continues to use fat for energy. And so from a weight loss standpoint, that's hugely beneficial. One of the other things.
You know what? I found that, I'm sorry, I was going to say, I found that it also helps reduce cravings because your body is not trying to get the sugar for energy. So I found just anecdotally that it does reduce cravings for sugar. So that's
exactly what I was going to say. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. So because really there's been research where they've taken obese mothers and then they followed up and then they see the child as obese. And what everyone from educated physicians to lay people looks at that situation and says, oh, that fat mom taught her baby how to eat like a fat person. Okay? But what the science is showing is actually what the obese mother did was pass certain kinds of bacteria on to baby. Those bacteria are teaching the baby and mom to crave sugar. It's not really the mother that's craving sugar. It's not really the baby that's craving sugar. It's the bacteria that mom passed the baby that's craving the sugar. And so that's where the dysfunctional pattern is. And when you can send spores in to get those pathogenic bacteria out of the bowel, then you're shutting off the sugar craving. And so the sugar craving is actually a healthier microbiome, and the bacteria that are calling for sugar are no longer there, or they're in much lower numbers, to where the person is not calling for the sugar. So that's another place that's hugely important, especially when you've got people that need to lose 30 pounds or more.
Right. Well, that's just amazing. It's nice that this one product can, it does so many things, and it's mainly because we're holistic organisms. Like one thing depends on another, and when you're getting the microbiome in order, you're boosting your immunity, you're absorbing more nutrition, you're able to burn proper fuel for energy, and it's just a beautiful synergy. And so I just wanted to kind of clarify, you can't run out to the store and buy Mega Probiotic. It's actually only available through physicians, but for everyone listening, I'm going to make it available to you. I'll have a link next to this interview, and when you go to the link, you're going to actually have to set up a 15-minute consultation with me just because I want to make sure that you do purchase the product, you do use it correctly, and then you'll be able to actually get a 10% discount, which I just want to thank you, Dr. Sean Bayne, for providing that for our listeners. That's it's just amazing that you're able to do that for us.
Well, through this conversation, that we're having, it's obvious that it's a very potent product. And so our concern is, just putting it on a shelf and having patients take it not under the tutelage of a physician. It could be difficult. Titration of the dosage being the main point. When we titrate patients up slowly to the full dose, they do fine. A lot of patients start at the full dose, boy, a fight breaks out between the candida in their gut and the spores, and it's not a pleasant experience always. And so if we've got the experience of a physician who's been using the product who can educate the consumer how to do it correctly, then the consumer is going to see all the benefits. If the consumer gets diarrhea with their first dose, they're not going to take the product anymore. So having that, we learned early that this was it needed the guidance of a physician for the consumer's benefit. So that's why we set it up that way, and it's been very well received, and we've got a great following of some great doctors like yourself, the naturopathic profession really has embraced our story, and they've embraced it out of their own frustration. They observe that these other probiotics really aren't doing what they're advertised to supposedly do.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of times the research will come out, and those of us who are proactive and we like to read the research, we know about the issues, and then the manufacturers don't come out for like 10 years later, to catch up with the research. And so it's great that you guys are so progressive and able to put this out there in a timely manner, and that's just golden for practitioners such as myself who we want to have the latest research, and we want to be able to give our patients the best possible outcomes. So it's priceless, and I just really appreciate everything you've done and how you continue to do.
Thank you. I mean, really, we're actually more of a research-based company that got into selling products because we were doing the research first, and then we're like, oh my goodness, what do we have here? And we continue to do research. So we've got a leaky gut study coming out. Those results should be in by the end of May. That's going to be a very exciting time. Our pilot study showed the ability to reduce leaky gut symptoms in humans. And so we should have a nice 50-person study done by May, which will just give us some more data on what spores actually do in the digestive tract and how they help us digestively and immunologically.
Beautiful. Well, thank you again so much for being here. I'm going to put a link to some more information about the product right next to this interview, and feel free to contact me if you'd like more information. If you'd like to try the product out for yourself, I will work with you on that. Like you said, like Dr. Tom said, titration is the key. Like what that means is starting with a very small amount and then letting your body acclimate to it and then working yourself up to the full dose so you can get the maximum benefit of the product. And that's something that I do with everything I use with my patients, whether it be a over-the-counter supplement or a medication. We always, work with you individually to see what you can handle. So again, thank you again so much, Dr. Tom, for being here. I so appreciate you and everything you've done, and I really look forward to learning more from you in the future. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. I look forward to coming back.
Thanks so much. Have a great day. And to everyone listening, thank you again for spending your day with us. I really appreciate your time, and I hope that you found this valuable as much as I did, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. So have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you received a lot of value out of this interview. I know that I did. I want you to open up to the possibility of making this new year the greatest opportunity that you have had so far to improve your life. This is about breaking out of paradigms. It's about learning the art of living. It is about honoring who you are as a woman as you discover who you are as a mother. It is about taking care of your body, mind, and spirit so that you can take better care of your family and be a shining example, a role model for your children so that they can grow up to be healthy, happy, and successful. I promise to continue to bring you educational, empowering, and inspiring content to help you achieve the body that you dream about and the life that you are meant to live. Stay tuned for more value-packed interviews, and be sure to check out all the resources on my website, metabolicmama.com. Until next time, wishing you a happy, healthy, hot day. Take care, mamas.